Happy New Year, everybody! We are party in the house today. I'm so blessed that you join us. We have a special guest today in the house. I am so excited and really honored to introduce one of my close friends, Margie Bissinger. She has been she's a health coach. Most importantly, she's been teaching happiness to people for the last 35 years. Wow, amazing. So Margie she's a physical therapist, an integrative health coach. She's a happiness trainer. She has over 25 years of experience even helping people with osteoporosis and osteopenia. But I think her major focus in love world is in happiness and teaching people all about happiness. She's authored books about osteoporosis, an exercise guide. She really believes, but specifically with happiness, like who doesn't need happiness in this new year? Completely. We have had such a crazy year in 2020. But so Margie really believes that happiness plays an integral role in our bone and overall health. She has been teaching her patients happiness habits for the last 30 years and has seen powerful effects, because seriously, happiness has an effect on your chronic pain, recovery, and your overall health and well-being. She's created an amazing course called Happy Me, Happy Life, 8-week online program to help people increase their happiness levels and energy and overall health. The link is in the description of this Facebook Live. Margie has, she's lectured in Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, hospitals, women's groups throughout the country, and guess what? She's here with us. Margie, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really, really excited to be here with you, your community. I always love being with you and the energy we create. So thank you. Thank you. I couldn't think of a better way to spend the first day of 2021. So thank you so much.
Because seriously, Margie, we have had a crazy 2020. Crazy. Like things that people couldn't even imagine and dream of happened. So, and especially I know specifically in my family, I've lost loved ones. So there's a lot of heartache that we've left, hopefully in 2020. How do why is happiness so important? But two, how can we create that resilience and how can we bring happiness into 2021? Like what can we do today? Because I need all these tips.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the interesting thing about happiness, some people say, oh, who cares if I'm happy or not? But there's amazing health benefits to happiness. I mean, besides everything else, our immune systems, they found people who are happy are 35% less likely to get sick.
Wow.
Can you imagine? And then people's relationships are better, their work environment, really everything's better. They live longer. Studies showed 9 years longer, people that were happier. So there's so much, there's just a tremendous amount about happiness, but who doesn't want to feel joy? And that's the best thing. So many of us settle and think, oh, this is just the way life is, but it doesn't have to be. And the most amazing thing, and this is what I think is incredible, they've done so much research on happiness, and they have something called your happiness set point. It's sort of like your base level of happiness. So if you do nothing, everyone hovers over a certain level, but they found that you can increase this level. And ready for this? Only 10% of this is based on your circumstances. So 10%? That's it. 10%. Everybody thinks, that if only I got a different job, if only I had different friends, or if only I lived somewhere else, I'd be happy or had more money. But they found that's only a small portion. And the good news is you can learn habits. So there's so much that you can do. So that's the good news, and that it works. It works. It's proven. I've seen this for years now. And I think that's what happened. As a physical therapist, I had gone through something not so great. And people were like, Margie, you're so happy. And I'm thinking, like, what are they talking about? And it hit me that I sort of was happy. And that at that moment, I realized it's an inside job. It's not based on what's happening in life. And that's the happiness I'm talking about. It's not walking around with, oh, life's wonderful, because we know that, life has its ups and downs. And certainly this year, we all can agree to that. So you can't just be happy when things are working for you. You have to develop it's an inner peace and well-being regardless of what's happening. And I know you have that, Medea. You're one of those people that is able to ride the waves. And I think you're a really good example of someone that does have that inner peace and well-being.
Yeah. So, and I love that, because you're like, it doesn't really matter upon the situation. It really comes from within.
Yes.
And it's not flaunting all the good things that's going on. It's even, riding the waves of it when craziness does hit, and still being able to be resilient during those times.
And that's what I've seen. I think that's the most interesting thing that I've seen, is that during this pandemic, so I've had these live classes going on in my groups, and I saw really these tools work. Not that I didn't think they worked, but they were really put to the test with the pandemic. And so people were finding new ways. They were doing things. They were seeing the lessons and the gifts in their circumstance. So I think that it really worked, and people are, and we're still going through it, but I think it gave people the resilience. And I think it was just a combination of tools plus community. So that's the good news, that even during these times, we can cultivate joy. And look, life's short. We want to enjoy every minute we can.
Absolutely. So then what kind of things can we start implementing in 2021?
Okay. So
yes, because I know all of us make these resolutions, but I feel like a lot of these resolutions go to the wayside because the fact that we're not emotionally in the right place.
It's such a good point. I think the first thing I completely agree with you. I think the first thing is to sort of start looking for the good. So often, and people are listening, tell me if you can relate to this. You wake up, you look at your phone, you're thinking about your to-do list, and all of a sudden you're in overwhelm. You're sort of thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to do this, this, this. I have to do this with the kids. I have to do that. And you're already in this state. So I think the first thing is to start really being on the lookout for the good that exists in your life, or the good that's to come. So when you wake up, there's lots of things you can do, but you can just even ask some empowering questions. Like, what good is here that I'm not even seeing? What good could I create today? Or what's the best thing that could happen to me? And then when you go through your day, start looking for the good. So often we don't. And I can think about, I love to ride my bicycle in the woods. There's really nice woods where I live. And when I have something on my mind, or I'm dwelling on something else, I completely miss the beauty of the woods. I miss the whole experience. And I think people go through life like that. They're worrying about a problem, and they miss all this good that exists. So I think the first thing to do is, when you get up, you can say some empowering questions, or what good am I going to create today? But as you go through the day, look for the good. So number one, look for it. But then number two, when you see it or something good happens, and they've done research on this, savor it, soak it in for at least 20 seconds. So Medea, someone gives you a compliment. You are just such a fun person. I love being with you. I love your books. Instead of like, oh, it was nothing, right? Thank you. I've worked really hard on that. Get into it, absorb it, take it in, because we really want to magnify all the good that exists. So you want to just soak it in. You see a sunset, something's beautiful. Don't just walk by, stop, take it in. And then when something good happens, celebrate your wins, even if they're small. It doesn't matter. We just want to, what we focus on grows. So if we can focus on the good, magnify it, guess what? We're going to get more good, and we're going to be happier. It's almost guaranteed. It's just so often we get ourselves in a rut, and we're thinking about all these things. And if you're listening and say, you know what, there's no good in my life, and there are people, I'm sure, who feel that way. Like, you know what, this is just a terrible time. There is no good. There's nothing I can focus on. Then pretend you have the awards, like the Academy Awards or any award you're going to give out every day. think you're going to give out maybe 5 awards. Who was the nicest person you came in contact with today? They'll get the nicest person award. Or what was the prettiest scenery you've seen, or the nicest tree, the cutest dog, whatever it is, just to start getting your mind reset to look for the good and look for the positives.
I love that. And I know that's what I do in my own house. And I found specifically with patients also that they can be on the best diet. They can be, on the best different types of lifestyle. They can be exercising every day, but they're still miserable and they're still not healing and they're still not getting better. And it really starts off with that gratitude. It's that positivity. It's what you focus on grows. So if you focus on the negativity, guess what? You're not going to, I tell people it's very difficult to get better if you're just focusing on the negative. If you're focusing on the positive, that's when you can grow and thrive. And then when you put positivity out in the world, positivity comes right back at you. And so in my house, like especially with kids, right? I got 12 to 5. And it's so easy because of the fact that immediately when they wake up in the morning, I want them just to say 10 things that they're thankful for every day. And that's it. And that is, they wake up with positivity. I have them go to sleep with positivity. And I love this because when you specifically, because I hear this a lot, they're like, yeah, because you already have everything going for you. And I was like, no, we all have trials. We all have problems. We all have struggles in our lives. But we have to, instead of focusing on those struggles, because there's probably like 5-10 struggles, but there's thousands of things that are going right in our lives. And those are the things that we need to concentrate on. And I love the fact that you talked about savoring the moment, because nobody does that anymore. It's so hard because we have our even our phones that we just we take everywhere we go. We don't have time. Our minds are always going. So how would you how do you get people to savor the moment?
Well, I think can you hear me? I think the 20-second. I think if you know that, what, I'm gonna, if you tell yourself that's a tool that I'm gonna try to implement. So the 20-second rule, because that's what starts making it a habit and really absorbing it. And so, when someone says something to you, don't just say, oh yeah, you look nice today. Oh, I look horrible today. No. When someone says something, just start retraining your brain to say, you know what, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And just let it fill your body. Feel how good it feels. Or when you see something good, just start, you just start slowly. I'm big into that, like one baby step at a time. And you just start piling them on. And when you start doing this, it just starts becoming part of you. And I think I love what you said, though, how with your children, because the best thing is, as a parent, you model the behavior that you want your children to do. So when you become more positive, then your whole family becomes more positive. And I love those habits that you've taught your children, your boys, so that they can, and then they do that. And it's such a win-win when we expand positivity, because
absolutely. No, absolutely. Because right now, specifically, we wake up in a world of negativity. We go to sleep in a world of negativity. And unfortunately, our homes are all negative. Social media is all negative. There's some positive, but our brain tend to focus on the negative that's there. And that's what causes, there's 2 main pieces of our decision making. It's our amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. And all of this negativity really pumps up the amygdala functions for these fight and flight type responses. And we get stuck in that. And so this is where it's super important, because positivity and gratitude, what Margie is talking about, is not just going to happen nilly-willy. You have to consciously change your subconscious to try to stay positive. And I love that. Soaking it in, focusing on the good in life, and then what we focus on grows. What other tips do you have for us, Margie?
Okay. There's so many tips should we go to like a different area? So
yes, let's do it.
You want to stay on the positive? One more thing about the negativity. We are actually wired for negativity, because way back in the caveman days, we had to be more aware of a tiger lurking than someone saying something nice to us. So we have to almost go the opposite way. And so what I like to do is also, when we get the negative thoughts, which you're going to get, I mean, there's not a question, but you don't want to absorb them. What you want to do is sort of counter them. So for like one negative, counter them with 3 positive but true, something that's true but positive. So it's not that you're gonna, we have to deal with the reality. It's not that we're pushing them out, and there are great techniques for that. But I think an easy place to start is just when you get the negative, you get the negative thought, okay, I got that. Don't absorb it and let it take you over, but then say, okay, you know what are 3 positive but true things I can also think of? And that will start also changing our brain and rewiring us more for positivity. And it's totally doable. Even if you're a glass half empty person, it doesn't matter. It works, and people can learn to rewire their brain and start moving in the other direction.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, it's, again, science has proven this over and over and over. And science has proven that our genes, you can even, this positivity can actually influence our genes. Now, how crazy is that? And that this happiness increases our chances of getting better, healthier. They've done studies on, even cancer patients that had tremendously had longer lives and better outcomes when they were positive. So again, super, super, super important.
And you know what's so interesting? I saw that as a physical therapist, that's what I started teaching my patients years ago. I was working with chronic pain, back pain, neck pain, TMJ. And I said, you know what, they were all so miserable. I said, I'm going to start teaching them some of the things that got me through. And all of a sudden, like muscles would relax and back pain would get much quicker than with just traditional physical therapy. And then joy started returning to people. It was incredible. So I saw really early on in my career, I mean, this is over 30 years ago, how powerful this happiness was. So every patient I've ever seen, every program has always had some happiness component, because just like you said, it's so powerful. And what a great way to help yourself get better, right?
Absolutely. And I've done this for the last, I think this is why me and you are so totally on the same page. We jive. It's like so much fun, because I've also been doing this for the last for the last 14 years. Every patient that walks through my door, I talk about the spiritual component, happiness, gratitude, meditation. Like, these are the things that I talk about with every single patient. And I've told them that if we're going to be negative, because, specifically when they come to me, they're like, the first appointment, I go through everything. The second appointment, they come back and they're like, nothing's gotten better. We go through the list, and I'm like, that's how I know, they're only focusing on the negative, the symptoms that are still present. Let's go through the other symptoms. When I go through their list, they're like, oh yeah, that's gone. 90% of their symptoms have improved. So then that's how I know that they're only concentrating on the piece of the puzzle that is still there, like that's still going on wrong with them, and not all the goodness that came from this. And so that's what I tell people. I'm like, immediately, one, you have to change your subconscious, because if you can't change your subconscious, then it's very difficult to get better. And to focus on all of these things that are going right in your life, not all these 1 or 2 things that are going wrong in your life. So again, super powerful. And this is where I start off my patients and my family. And as soon as there's even some complaints in my house, I'm like, we got to up the gratitude pill. Because I'm like, that's it. We're going to increase the gratitude. You could go sit and you could tuck in, go talk about get grateful for first. And then come in, oh yeah, thank you, Mama. And this, thank you for this. Thank you, universe, for this. God for this. So it's amazing. Really powerful. It can really change somebody's inside out like that.
I know that's the fun part. Saying the thank yous for everything, and being, appreciation is another thing. And I think that that's something that a lot of us we don't realize, first of all, how good it feels when someone says something kind to you and appreciates you. We sometimes forget how amazing that feels, and we don't always do that for everyone. And I think, we don't tell people why we appreciate them, but I think especially for everyone listening with family, for everyone, this is so important. But if you want to improve relationships and happiness in your family, just play, I call it the appreciation game, where you just go around the table and everybody tells everybody what they appreciate about one another.
Love that.
There's just nothing better than raising everybody's happiness and just exercising that appreciation muscle and It really does. It really helps you get out of that negativity.
It does, and especially for those people that are living in, turbulent households. It's really difficult to get out of that negativity. But specifically, I mean, not everybody's marriage is perfect. Not everybody's relationship with their parents are perfect. Not everybody's relationship with their siblings are perfect. So what I do, what I've talked to patients about, and I know this was in my own relationships too, right? So me and my husband are completely oil and water. Oil and water. He was born, raised in a different country. I was born, raised here. We don't see eye to eye in anything. So if I know the beginnings part of my marriage. I mean, I've been married now 15 years. Yay. But the beginning, it was hard. It was like miserable because I was thinking about it, and I recognized this was something that I was doing. Is I was focusing on, even though I was all positive, and I was like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I started focusing on the things that he wasn't doing instead of the things that he was doing. And once I changed that entire philosophy, our marriage improved significantly. And then he also was doing that too. So before it was just us. What are you doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And it was just like one after another. But now it's like, these are all the things that you're doing right. Thank you. And he's doing that to me too. These are all the things that you're doing. Thank you so much for all of this. And that's with every relationship, because no relationship is perfect. This is what I've talked even my patients about their own children, their own families, their own parents, their own siblings, is that instead of focusing on all the things that each one of them is doing wrong, focus on what they're doing right and appreciate those. Right?
I couldn't agree with you more. You can do the appreciation game with your husband too.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. And now it's like, it's amazing.
But also, there's like different ways of looking at things. So there's something called the solutions focus technique. So instead of like, if you say, okay, well, where's my relationship right now with my husband? And let's say from a scale of 0 to 10, it's a 3. So instead of thinking this is exactly what you do, well, why is it not a 10? Okay, this is wrong, that's wrong. You think, well, wait, why is it a 3 and not a 0? Why is it? Yes. And what are you doing that's right? And then try to do more of that. But I think it's so great, and it works. It's really effective because it makes a big difference how you look at things. What's the lens you're going through your life looking at things? And when you change that, it's just amazing how everything changes. It's so true. And Wayne Dyer said a great quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's so, so true. So, and it's just a matter of start conditioning yourself. And I think it's exciting because I see this every day because the people I work with, and it's so nice to see when people get their life back and that you don't have to accept that, I'm just going through the motions, because why do that? You can have joy in your life, even when times are tough.
Absolutely. And sometimes I know I have a lot of people come to me and they say, well, you're basically taking my negative, you're not really appreciating my negative emotion. Like something sad happened and let me be sad. And so I know me and my cousin have this conversation. She's a psychiatrist. I'm overjoyous and bubbly, and I look at the positive. She goes, but then you're not letting people have their emotions of sadness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then so I've talked to her about it. I'm like, it's not this, you can have that emotion of sadness, but it's a story you keep on telling yourself in your brain that really makes a difference. Are you sad and lonely? Yes, something bad happened. You have time to savor that, and go through the emotions of that. But then are you stuck in that routine? Right?
That's such a good point, because yes, you have to experience the emotions. Being the happiness, that we're talking about doesn't mean you're not sad, you're not upset. Things happen, of course, and that wouldn't be human. And I believe you need to experience that. But just like you said, you need to, experience it, and then you don't keep telling it because it could last your entire life.
Absolutely.
And it's funny, in some, a lot of traditions, ancient traditions, they let people tell their stories maybe twice, and then they say no. I'm trying to think where this was that I heard this story where they'll hold a woman, they like hold them over the water and they say, all right, tell your story, but now you're done. now you're done, and you move on.
No,
Because
absolutely. It's a story that you tell yourself. So
yeah,
that's amazing. So what other pieces besides we talked about the appreciation, the positivity, what other pieces are really important to really optimize that happiness?
I think a big point that we sort of touched on is, who do you surround yourself with? And I think, we can be doing good things for ourselves, and then everybody we're around. This is probably the biggest question I ask. Well, what happens? What do you do with the negative people who are around you? So, I mean, sometimes you can, but I think just to start evaluating, like, are people making you feel good and expanded when you're around them? Because you catch the emotions. There's something called mirror neurons. And so someone else, you're picking up, your neurons in your brain are actually picking up the activity of someone else's neurons in their brain, and you mirror that. So that's why when someone yawns, you're more likely to yawn, or if someone, you're more likely to pick up their behavior. So it's just so critical to see who you're surrounding yourself with. And not that you get rid of everybody, but you just, you want to increase people that you want to increase who you enjoy, who uplifts you, who's around you. So I think being aware of it, setting boundaries when you are finding, major negative people. But I think, I think that's very important, just to start seeing who you're surrounding yourself with and having support, because we need other people. There was a study done at Harvard, and they looked at men for over 80 years, and they saw all these different health, all sorts of different things about their health in 80 years. And they found the most important thing out of everything was, what was their social situation like? And who did they surround themselves with, and who were in their communities? So I think moving forward, as you move into 2021, evaluate who the people are. And we can't do this alone. I mean, that's what I learned from my course, was that, yes, you can say, okay, I'm going to do the gratitude, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you can do it. But when you have support, when you have a group working with you with anything, when you have other people that are doing the same thing, you all together create a force, create an energy that propels you. And so I think that, whatever it is, if you like to read, get in a reading group, or if you like to garden, whatever it is that you like to do. And I know a lot of people have done this now online because of our current situation, but they've sort of thought about, well, what are their interests? What do they want to accomplish in 2021? And then get support. So see who you're surrounding yourself with, because you do catch their emotions, and they say we're the mixture of the 5 people we surround ourselves with.
I love it.
So you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourselves with people who are uplifting. And then anything you want to do, get support, and get support by people who have similar interests, and make you feel good about yourself as well. And you can feel that, how you feel.
I love that. You are absolutely right. And that love does heal.
Yes.
They've shown that there's studies, and so many studies that have shown that just that love and the positivity releases oxytocin that lowers the stress management systems, and stress response systems. So therefore your body is in a state of not less of a fight and flight mode, and more of a rest and digest mode when you have those good feeling hormones around you. And so again, positivity is healing is super important. But again, remember, we get a lot of these people that the negativity of those negative people live in their houses. Now, how are you supposed to deal with that?
Okay. So can you hear me? I keep hearing this backlash. Okay. So how do you deal with the negative people around you? Okay.
In the household specifically.
All right, so number one is, just like you build your immune system, how we build our immune systems right now, you also build your emotional immune system. So if you're doing really good things, if you're doing all sorts of things for your own positivity, it's going to be very different how it's going to affect you, number one. So, it's sort of the stronger energy works. If someone like the Dalai Lama, there was someone I knew was in a room, and she was wondering, there was a really negative guy, like what was going to happen. And sure enough, he became way more positive.
Really?
Yeah. So you build your own emotional you build your own emotional immunity by building up all these positive, doing the gratitude. There's so many different practices that we're not going to get into today, but there's so many, any of them that you could start, building your own immune system. So when you're more positive, you're more immune to it. Number one. Number two, I think boundaries are just a really good thing. So if someone is just going on, and great, it's okay to hear their story, but they're looping. They just keep going on and on. You can say, you know what? I'm taking a class, or I'm really working on increasing my positivity. So let's talk about this for 5 minutes, and then let's talk about solutions. Focus, instead of focusing on the problem, focus on solutions. And set your boundaries. Just say, you know what, let's talk about it for 5 minutes. And then let's maybe focus on what we can do about it. Or you just make boundaries, how much you're going to take of it. And I think that's huge, because so often we want to be a nice friend. We want to be a nice family member. So we listen, but it's not benefiting us. It's making us feel horrible. And it's not benefiting them to just keep going on and on. So I think when you're honest, I'm very big into honesty, and say, I'm really working on 2021. You're trying to be more positive, and just set the boundaries. So
absolutely. I think this is what you were talking about with these relationships. There was, the longest study done in Harvard.
Yeah.
Regards, right?
Yes.
In regards to happiness and our relationships and the importance of our relationships in Harvard, by Dr. Robert Waldinger.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, psychiatrist. Yes. And how he just talked about how our relationships and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. I mean, his studies really revealed that these close relationships are actually better, like more influential than even money and fame. And that is what really keeps people happy throughout their lives. And those bonds are a better predictor for long, happy lives, better social class, more than social class, more than IQ, more than even inherited genetic influences. So the people around you really do make a difference for health and overall happiness. So it's so powerful.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't think about that. But to just stop and sort of see, are you surrounding yourself? It's like a garden. You're surrounding yourself with roses and gardenias, or is it more like people who make you feel bad? But what I found as a physical therapist, this is so interesting, because you're touching people. And there was one patient, this is many years ago, and my husband would know who I saw when I came home, because, I was just so negative. So I had to really learn techniques myself to protect me. So the best one I know is that I fill myself with white light. Because when there's light, when you're full of light, darkness cannot come in. So I would fill myself with white light and then send out white light, send out positive thoughts. And that really helped. And then that was my number one. And then even if you go into a room, if you walk into a room and it's all negativity, fill yourself with this amazing white light and just send out the white light. It's so powerful. And then the last thing, as a physical therapist, sometimes what I had to do is actually create a shield. I actually physically visualize a shield so that I could send out positivity, but I just didn't let that come in. But they work, these techniques. And I think if you start thinking about it, start feeling how you feel, and I've had patients who certain groups, they would tell me, oh, my muscles were loose and this, and then, but they would go to this group, and then so they ended up leaving the group, finding a new group, and it changed everything. Sometimes we don't realize we sort of are stuck in our habits, and we don't realize that maybe some of them aren't good for our overall health and well-being.
No, and then I know you were talking a lot about the negative people that you saw. I mean, that's stressful. So stress also leads to a lot of unhappiness, specifically in this world that we're living in right now. We listen to the news, there's stress, there's people that are sick, that's stressful. You can't do the things that you want to do that are stressful. So stress, let's talk a little bit about stress and how stress deals with your overall health and happiness.
Yeah, stress is unbelievable in terms of increasing cortisol, the stress hormone. I mean, I deal a lot with osteoporosis. It reduces the bone building cells. In terms of, it increases your blood pressure, it increases your heart rate, everything that but it's just negative. Every single disease process is affected by stress. And I firsthand, it's funny because I'm working as a physical therapist and I signed up for, this is a while ago, an 8-week mindfulness meditation program. And I got a speeding ticket on the way to meditation, the second class. Can you imagine? But sometimes things are good. It hit me in the head that I was not practicing what I preach. Yes, I was happy, but I was rushing and I wasn't really doing enough stress reduction techniques. So I started doing the meditation, and I took that class as though it was the most important thing in my life. And since that day, I've been doing practices that reduce your stress, whether it's, there's so many different things, and I teach those as well, but breathing, different things, because it's so important, because we're going to have stress. Everyone's going to have stress, but it's how you react to it that matters. Two people can be sitting in the same traffic. One's ready to tear their hair out, and another person is working on deep breathing or visualizing what they want to happen, or thinking about something, and they're fine. And one person leaves, and the stress response is through the roof, negatively affecting their health, and the other has no effect whatsoever. So I think that there's so many different techniques, but I do so believe, and I just always start with breathing. I have people breathe before they eat. And so deep breathing, so they're relaxed. Number one, when you're trying to do something new, they've done research, tie it into a behavior you're already doing. And this way you're much more likely to make it a habit. So, if you just tell people to breathe, they're not going to do it.
No, absolutely. I love that. And I feel like that's what makes a big difference in my life, because if I, as a mom, okay, let's get back to reality, right? I'm a mom. I feed a family of 8 on a daily basis. I have my own practice. I'm currently writing 3 books simultaneously, editing one and writing 2 others, brand new. And with deadlines, with publishing deadlines, and then speaking engagements, and all these other crazy things that we do as entrepreneurs. And I could do this with, I love what I do, but then all that stress can wear anybody down. And then nothing becomes joyful. Your life living, like all the things that the reason why you're actually doing what you're doing, it's not helping you, so it's not going to help anybody else. And that's why managing that stress can actually help you live a happier and healthier life, and try to keep things in its compartments, and not just, because for me, especially, as being an entrepreneur, thinking everything can just, basically you could be working 24/7. But does that give you joy? And then what kind of things are you really, putting aside for that? Your own happiness. So that's where it's really important to incorporate these stress management techniques, so we can lower these stresses, so we can manage our lives and be happy. Because spending time, what really gives me joy? Spending time with my kids, cooking and baking for people, so that's the kind of things that we have to incorporate, those pieces, and going for a walk outside, taking a hike out in nature. I think nature is another huge piece of the puzzle where is really important for happiness and stress management, right?
Absolutely. I love what you're saying, because it's so true. And when I don't live by my own rules,
I've been there.
I was doing a happiness challenge and it was great, but I had so many interviews to do, and I'm thinking, wait, something is so wrong here, that I'm not exercising. I'm on the computer later than I'd like, because I'm trying to help other people get happy. I said, no.
So that doesn't help.
Right. So I think it's really important, even if you're doing great things, you have to maybe, not do too much of good, as you said. You're my hero. I'm so always impressed with how much you do. It's incredible. And you do such great, everything you do is so amazing. But so you've gotten this, whatever you've totally gotten this, but I couldn't agree with you more. Whatever habits you choose, whether for me now, if I don't do my meditation every day, I do my journaling. Like, I have certain practices that I do, and I teach lots of different practices so people can choose what they like. You have to choose what works for you. But I think it's important that you have these, because they do reduce your stress, and they do keep you so that you're not in this fight or flight, and that you can handle things. And it's a different way of living. It really is. When I don't do these, I don't nearly feel the same. And it's not that I couldn't agree with you more about that. So, so important.
Obviously. And there's so many, and that's what, again, I love your point. There's so many different things that you can do. Meditation may be one. Prayer for us, I pray 5 times a day. So for me, prayer is where it's at.
Great.
Right. And during that times, I'm meditating, I'm mindful, I'm, connecting with what really matters in life, because the rest of the, everything else, it comes and goes. So you have to find those things that really give you balance. Going for at least once a week. Right now we're in the Chicagoland area, so it's snow outside. So at least once a week, I try to force my kids out and we go on a hike for an hour and a half, right? Or 2 hours. We go on a hike, even though it's like muddy and woody, but it's just fun. That's even part of the experience. But that's even just getting out in nature. Studies have shown that nature can actually lower your overall inflammation. It can optimize your immune system and just give you joy, and actually connects that amygdala and the prefrontal cortex that helps you with happiness and health internally and externally, and stress management. So doing anything, there's so many different things you can do to incorporate into your daily routine. Just got to find it and just try to keep it a priority. And I loved what you said. Like, you don't do that same thing every day, but you give yourself like, if it's not one thing, then I'll journal this day, so different things can really help too.
Right. And not to be hard on yourself. That's the key thing. Like, whatever you do, just be kind to yourself. And don't try to do everything at once. If you do one thing, go for a short walk. But it's interesting with nature, because you're right, there's so much research on nature and happiness and health. But the thing is, our rhythm is one of being fast. And the rhythms of nature are very slow. And so when we're out in nature, we change, and it really makes a very, very big difference. So that's such a great way just to get out, just to be outside, even taking walks. So whatever it is, and you just start with one thing, because again, overwhelm is the opposite of happiness. So we have to really,
I love that. Yes.
You certainly don't want to be overwhelmed by trying to get happy.
It does. It is. And sometimes it just sneaks up on you. And that's when you really got to take a step back and say, wait. This is totally going against everything that I'm teaching. You have to step back and say, okay, don't be overwhelmed. Take it one step at a time. And I think that's what's really important. So you got to take time out for you, especially as moms. I don't know. I know in my culture, we're taught that, if you're not constantly doing something for your family and your children, you're not, if you're just taking time for yourself, you must be doing something wrong. And we're not. And I had to do that. And my kids now know that, okay, mama needs her exercise time. Okay, now I told them from this time to this time, this is my time. Obviously, they're a little bit older now, so they understand. Little toddlers don't. But even then, you can give your child to, your significant other or Nana or grandpa or somebody else, or a babysitter, just so you can get your me time. And sometimes that's super important. I know I would join gyms just so I can use some of the daycare facilities and get my, meditation and yoga. And that was literally and then getting some exercise time. So prioritizing yourself, I think, is the biggest piece, especially as moms. If we as moms and women are healthier, our entire households are so much happier.
I could not agree with you more, because, it's just like they say, when you put the face mask on, you'll put yours on before you put your child's on. We have to take care of ourselves. If we don't, and we're frazzled as mothers, and how are we showing up for our kids? There's such a difference. It's so, so important to take care of yourself. And you're not being selfish. You're not being selfish at all, because by taking care of yourself, you're being an example, but then you're just feeling better and you're showing up better for all those people you love. So, and your own health. If you get sick, what good are you for anybody else? So I think that's such important advice. And my kids are older now, but yes, I can so relate, because you have 4 boys. I have 3, and they were close in age as well. But
you remember how it was.
Oh, absolutely. But you're right. There are times where you just didn't care about yourself because there was so many things you had to get here, there. And that really just makes you frazzled, makes you stressed. And then how how are you going to really be the person that you want to be? And that's the thing. When you're happy and you're relaxed, that's what you're sending out to your family. That's oh, you know, it's funny. I brought this book that I found. I don't know if it's a popular book anymore. It was, again, my kids are my oldest is 32, so they're much older. But it was called Andrew's Angry Words. Andrew's Angry Words, and it's just it's such a good book, saying how one person his sister stepped on something and he got angry, and his angry words went to the next person and the next person, and then in the end someone says something positive, and how the positivity gets transferred. So the same thing, if you're wired and you're tired and you're frustrated and you're ready to pull your hair out, how is that going to go with your family?
No.
So it's so important, even though you think it might be selfish, it's not. Everyone is going to benefit in the family. So that's so
and
great.
your decision making. I mean, they've done studies where it actually, again, solidifies your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. So you're making, as a mom, as a woman, as a caregiver, you are making so much better decisions for even your family. So actually, it's like a life or death. For me, it's the life or death that you need. Like, taking care of myself is absolutely a must. Otherwise, nothing else is going to be done well in the house. So I love that. I love that. I love that. Are there any other tips that you can give us before end?
There's so many, but I think through all of it, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You know, look for the good. Gratitude, like we said. So I think we've given so many, and just don't be hard on yourself. I think, you know, so often we love everyone else and we're kind to everyone else, but we're not kind to ourselves. So that same kindness, just give that to yourself. I think that will really make a big difference in 2021.
Yeah, you guys, this is so exciting. Wow, thank you so much for joining us today. Margie, this has been amazing. Yay, I hope you guys have all benefited as much as I have. Because remember, we all make these resolutions, right? Somebody wants to lose more weight. Somebody wants to go on this diet. Somebody wants to, exercise more. Somebody wants to stress manage more. But if we're not in a right place here, all of those other pieces, you wake up in a world of negativity, lack of joy. So then it's very harder to get to all your other resolutions. And we're not in a right place mentally and emotionally to actually make those other things happen. So this is why I really want to bring Margie on today, to give her amazing tips so we can now optimize your health and happiness into the new year. And then that way, when we project, can you imagine if all of us brought all this joy and happiness into the world? Where would the world be today? We would be in a totally different place. So this is why it's so super important. Please share and like this video. Margie has she has such great resources. Yes. Can you go ahead and tell us where we can find you and all your amazing resources?
Okay. So I created this journal that just goes through 7 days of habits. The first day is looking for the good. I don't know if you can see this, but anyway, it's 7 days of happiness habits. So a lot of the things that we talked about today, but you can go through that. And do you have the link? You'll have the link for them?
Yeah, I put it down.
Oh, the link. Okay. So that you can get for that. That's the journal. And then if you feel if you're ready to increase your happiness and you want a supportive group, because I think it's tools and support. That's what I found really works. Then I would love you to be part of the Happy Me, Happy Life class. The next class is starting really soon, actually. It's starting January 5th. And it's live. It's 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. But that's okay. If you can't come, you can, certainly watch the replays. And we just go through. It's a 7-step process. And we really go through strategies. And we give you, it's a blueprint. So you don't have to figure out what to do. So you really get the steps. And it's really, it's just helped me so much through this pandemic, being with everybody and the positive energy, because as a group, we create this amazing energy. So I would absolutely love if this is something that you feel you want to focus on and increase in 2021, then please join us. That would be so much fun. So we have the link for that as well.
Yeah. That as well. That's in also the description of the book. And so that is starting on January 5th. It's a happiness class where She takes 7 steps, walks you through happiness. And believe me, I think the most powerful thing that we can do for our family and our children today and ourselves is change our mindset. And when we change our mindset, this is one of the most powerful tools. And obviously there's food and there's meditation and then there's exercise and going out in nature and all those other pieces. But this is super important. So immediately when you wake up in the morning, say 10 things that you're thankful for. Don't be hard on yourself. Focus on the things that other people are doing right. Instead of focusing on what people are doing wrong, that will improve your relationship. So there's so many amazing things that Margie's going to teach you and so much more, right? And all these resources that she has available. So please go ahead and take a look at her, January 5th happiness course. And then we have that link here. This is the course and for Happy Me, Happy Life, right? Happy Me, Happy Life. I love it. And then there's an amazing journal. She has that you can actually start to incorporate and make these into actionable steps that you can start right now. And then she's created an amazing resource for that. So Margie, where else can people learn more about you? This has been amazing.
They can go to my website, just margiebissinger.com. And I also have a podcast that Dr. Medea was an amazing guest on. We had such a fun episode on chronic inflammation, which was so great. So the podcast is called Happy Bones, Happy Life, and it's on all the podcast stations. And even though it's about bones, in a sense, it's about everything. So there's all sorts of really fascinating speakers, and you can see what topics that
I love that. I love it.
You should listen to your episode. Your episode was fabulous on chronic inflammation, and we had fun too. We always have fun together.
That's what I'm like. Okay, but and there's anybody that I want to do a Facebook Live on New Year's Day is Margie, because we need more happiness. We need more joy. And can you imagine this? If we can all start to implement these habits, where the world would be. And look, Kathy even wrote, every time I hear Margie speak, exactly what I need to learn is what I hear.
Oh, thank you. Well, Kathy's actually in my class. So yay. Thank you, Kathy.
Awesome. Excellent, you guys. But please let us know if there's any last words. Actually, let's go ahead and end with last tip that Margie can, what can we start today?
Okay.
Yes.
First thing is look for the good. I want you to go out, or whatever happens in the rest of the day, and just sort of see what good is there. I think that just start focusing on the good. I would say that's the first step.
I love that. You guys, we can all do that. Let's start that. 2021, fresh start. Every day is a fresh start. It's okay. We got to do this. Let's start today. Let's start with our families. Maybe make this a project with your kids. Go outside and say, okay, let's go check out what kind of good is here in the world. If you start doing this with your families, it will make your families healthier. This entire year will be amazing for you and your kids and your families and your loved ones. Because when you put good out into the world, and when you start looking for the good comes right back at you, and you see more and more and more of it. Thank you so much, Margie.
Thank you so much. I love being with you. Even the day I met you, I was like, who is this great energy?
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yes, and if you guys have any questions, please let us know. Donna says, thank you both for a great hour. Yay! I'm so glad that we can help. We got this, everybody. Let's do this together. We are here for you.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. You guys got this. We're here for you. Yay! Happy New Year. Woo! World, here we come. Filled with joy and happiness.
Yeah, you got it. Woo! 2021.
2021. Yay! Happy New Year, guys. Bye.
Bye.